Right, we begin Acts 22. As we've already seen, Paul has been accused of many things. The guards have been involved, the Roman soldiers, but he is given the chance to make a defense, to give a speech that tells him that he's not guilty of the things that they're accusing him of. So we start right away in verse 1 of chapter 22. Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silent, and he saith. So because he's speaking Hebrew, they're definitely stopping giving attention to him. Keep in mind, these are unbelieving Israelites. He calls them men, brethren, and fathers. Later on, when Ananias calls Saul a brother, or is that brother as far as they're both Israelites, they're both Jewish, or brother in some other sense? That comes up in a lot of these discussions. But in verse 3, I am verily a man which am a Jew, born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, and taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards God, as ye all are this day. So at some point in his youth, he was brought up in Jerusalem. He was trained under Gamaliel because his family has some sort of long line of Pharisees. And he was a Pharisee. He learned from Gamaliel, and he was taught in that tradition, and obviously well educated to some degree. We don't know what happened between his youth and during the crucifixion of Jesus and all that. It's not really, again, until Acts 9 that all this comes about. But verse 4 we read, And I persecuted this way unto death, binding and delivering into prisons both men and women, as also the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the state of the elders, from whom also I received letters unto the brethren, and went to Damascus, to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem for to be punished. And it came to pass that as I made my journey, and was come nigh to Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light around about me. And I fell to the ground, and heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said unto me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said unto me, Arise and go into Damascus, and there it shall be told thee of all things which are appointed for thee to do. And when I could not see for the glory of that light, being led by the hand of them that were with me, I came into Damascus. We covered this in the special study of Paul's conversion, where we looked at chapter 9, chapter 22, and chapter 26 together. There are details given in each of these chapters that's not given elsewhere. So it's helpful to look at all of them and try to get a clear understanding of his traveling companions and what happened. And that it all tells the same story, although we have different details at different times when Paul's recounting what happened back in Acts chapter 9, or what's recorded in Acts chapter 9. Of all the things that he says, not much is necessarily new to us. Verse 12, And when Ananias, a devout man according to the law, having a good report of all the Jews which dwelt there, came unto me and stood and said unto me, Brother Saul, receive thy sight. And the same hour I looked upon him. And he said, The God of our fathers hath chosen thee, that thou shouldest know his will, and see that just one, and shouldest hear the voice of his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness unto all men of what thou hast seen and heard. And now why tarriest thou? Arise and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. And it came to pass that when I was come again to Jerusalem, even while I prayed in the temple, I was in a trance, and saw him saying unto me, Make haste and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, for they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. So this is interesting, and it's interesting to think about this from the perspective of the Israelites that are hearing it. So they know who he is. They know that he once persecuted this way those who are called Christians at this point. He persecuted them. He bound them. He threw them in prison. He's very careful in his language. He doesn't say anything about him putting them to death. Um, Now he stood by while and consented to Stephen being put to death. Maybe he did cast his vote against him and things of that nature. So I don't know if he was less actively involved than some people think, or he was just being delicate with his language. Maybe it pained him to think that he had actually taken part in the persecution of the saints. But be that as it may, it's interesting to think about all these things, him seeing Jesus, Ananias, also being an Israelite, being a Jew, saying that he had seen the just one, that Jesus is the just one, hearing his voice, and then being a witness, but then ultimately recognizing that there are those that wouldn't receive his testimony. And this group he's speaking to might very well be that. So he comes upon this trance, again, because they won't receive a testimony. Then verse 19, and I said, Lord, they know that I imprisoned and beat in every synagogue them that believed on thee. And when the blood of thy martyr Stephen was shed, I also was standing by, and consenting unto his death, and kept the raiment of them that slew him. And he said unto me, Depart, for I will send thee far hence unto the Gentiles. It's interesting how much they listen until the word, like, they're obviously going to oppose what he's saying or disagree with what he's saying. But the second he says, the Lord sent me to preach to the Gentiles, that's when verse 22 says, and they gave him audience unto this word. Like at this word, they would not allow him to go any further. In Acts 17, when he preached the resurrection, that's when the Greek philosophers cut him off. When the Israelites heard him mention being sent to the Gentiles to preach to them, that's when they became upset and wouldn't let him speak anymore. So they gave him audience unto this word, and then lifted up their voices and said, Away with this, or away with such a fellow from the earth, it is not fit that he should live. And as they cried out and cast off their clothes and threw dust into the air, the chief captain commanded him to be brought into the castle, and bade that he should be examined by scourging, that he might know wherefore they cried so against him. Again, this whole speech was in Hebrew. None of the soldiers probably knew what was being said or what was going on. They just knew he was speaking, and all of a sudden there's an uproar. So let's take him, bind him, and, beat the truth out of him, so to speak. Verse 25. As they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? When the centurion heard that, he went and told the chief captain, saying, Take heed what thou doest, for this man is a Roman. Then the chief captain came and said unto him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? He said, Yea. And the captain answered, With a great sum obtained I this freedom. And Paul said, But I was freeborn. Again, the city Paul was born in allowed him citizenship just by being born in that particular city. Others may have had to pay a great sum of money in order to gain citizenship and the benefits that go with that. So it was strange to the captain to think of, this Jewish person. Again, he wasn't born in Jerusalem. It would be kind of odd to have a Jewish individual in this region who was a citizen, but Paul was a citizen. And it would be illegal for them to beat him. It was illegal for them to detain him without a charge. So even tying him up was a problem. Verse 29. Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him, and the chief captain also was afraid, after he knew that he was a Roman, and because he had bound him. On the morrow, because he would have known the certainty wherefore he was accused of the Jews, he loosed him from his bands, and commanded the chief priests and all their council to appear, and brought Paul down and set him before them. So without binding him or putting him in prison further, he wanted to find out what the cause was, and the best way to do that, he decides, is to bring him before the Sanhedrin and to find out what it is he's being accused of. So that's Acts 22. Without a lot of detail, Paul's defense and the events that follow. I was holding back whether I should make a reference about Acts 22:16 or not, where regardless of what Paul has faced, we talk about this in the special study, but arise and be baptized and wash away thy sins, calling on the name of the Lord. That being said, that's Acts 22. Make sure to pay attention to the special study about Paul's conversion, where we talk about this chapter 9 and 26 together. Everyone have a good day. God bless.